Good morning, Malacanang Press Corps. Happy Thursday. Let's have Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque.
Good morning, Pilipinas, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Malacanang Press Corps. Happy Women's Month. This month, we celebrate the accomplishments of Filipino women and honor their contributions in the home, in the workplace, in the community, and in nation building. As Women's Month commences, the government underscores a commitment to protect the Filipino woman's dignity, upholding women's rights, and giving women the recognition they properly deserve, not just the ilaw ng tahanan, but the haligi as well. We're working towards the fulfillment of women's rights to comprehensive health services as we introduce legislation. House Bill number 4757 is one of such a bill, and this provides that at least 12% of annual internal revenue allotments be allotted for local health programs, including maternal health care. Our goal is to create a Philippines that puts forward the Philippine woman as an equal partner in nation building. Inclusive development could only be realized with equality and genuine collaboration between men and women. Good news. We are pleased to announce that the Subic-Clark-Tarlac Expressway Mabiga Interchange and the North Luzon Expressway Santa Ines Magalang exit are now open to the public. The Mabiga Interchange has a full diamond junction with access ramps with entry and exit toll plazas connecting Exitex and MacArthur Highway, while the Santa Ines Interchange now has a right-turning exit ramp to Mabalacat-Magalang Road with direct access to local roads in Magalang, Pampanga. We expect motorists to have a smooth, faster, and convenient travel experience, particularly for those who are going to or passing through Subic and Tarlac. We're pleased also to announce that the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology on February 27 led the launch of the new earthquake monitoring station, the Ibahay Seismic Station in Aklan. Situated inside the Aklan State University, Ibahay campus, the new station is expected to monitor seismic activities in the province of Aklan and Western Visayas region. With the expansion of the Philippine Seismic Network, the PhilVox aims to provide better and accurate earthquake monitoring reports covering the entire country. And for our final good news to our farmers, fisher folks, women's group, and agribusiness owners, they will no longer have to worry about contamination and rotting of farm commodities. The Philippine Center for Post-Harvest Development and Mechanization under the Department of Agriculture has developed a multi-commodity solar tunnel dryer. This solar dryer is a practical alternative to using mechanical dryers and drying under the sun, which exposes food products to different elements that can cause contamination and rotting. The farm commodities which can be dried using this include banana, cassava, small fish, kamyas, mushroom, and tomatoes. Questions? Yes.
Question? Rose Novenaria, microphone.
Hi sir, good morning. Sir, simula po ito ng Women's Month. As Presidential Advisor on Human Rights po ni Presidente, maaari niyo po ba siyang payuhan na medyo mag-ingat dun sa kanyang mga komentaryo hinggil po dun sa kababaihan dahil nung nakaraang araw po sa kanyang speech, parang binanggit na naman niya yung parang yung ari ng babae, parang dun po sa sa patungkol po dun sa mga rebel returnees na kababaihan.
Nag-explain lang naman siya na medyo hindi naman literal yung kanyang nais sabihin, medyo iniinis niya talaga yung mga Amazona, no? Pero hindi naman literal yung kanyang nais sabihin. But I will advise him as you recommended.
Opo, kasi yung naghihimok po tayo na nagbabalik loob sa pamahalaan, parang improper naman po sa kanila na insultuhin po sila ng harapan ng isang punong ehekutibo.
Sige po, point well taken po.
Question, MBC. Pia Gutierrez. Microphone, Ina.
Hi, sir. Sir, recently, the chair of the National Council of PDP Laban, Mr. Rogelio Garcia, aired several grievances against Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez. Number one, for apparently holding a mass oath-taking for new members of the party without a mandatory basic seminar. And number two, for apparently not inviting old members dun sa anniversary. So my question, sir, is the President aware of these grievances, and is he doing something to appease the old members of the party?
The President has said time and again that the management, although he remains chair of PDP Laban, the day-to-day management of party affairs has been delegated to both Senate President Coco Pimentel and House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez, as well as Energy Secretary Cusi. No? So the question is, does the President know about these gripes? Well, the President defers to the leadership. I'm sure this will be threshed out in due course. But the President has full trust and confidence in Senate President Pimentel, Speaker Alvarez, and Secretary Cusi.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Laila Salaveria.
Good morning. Sir, can you explain to us the President's concept of the joint exploration with China? Because he mentioned that it will be like co-ownership. Does this mean we will be recognizing China's sovereign rights or sovereignty over disputed areas?
Definitely not. The President just wanted to explain that joint exploration and exploitation will be undertaken by both Philippine and Chinese nationals. Now, having said that, ownership is not material here because really the areas that may be subjected to joint development is EEZ, Exclusive Economic Zone, where we only exercise sovereign rights. So let's not talk about ownership because sovereign rights is different from title, no?
But, sir, Justice Carpio mentioned earlier that joint exploration could be contrary to the Constitution because the Philippines has exclusive right to exploit its the resources in the EEZ.
Again, Justice Carpio dissented and was the minority view in Labugal. The existing jurisprudence is yes, we can enter into joint exploration and joint exploitation with foreign entities, provided that it complies with the Constitution. Among others, it be pursuant to a written agreement signed by the President and submitted to Congress.
Sir,
That's the majority and the jurisprudence in Labugal versus Secretary of Environment and Resources.
Sir, last night, just to be clear, any joint exploration with China won't require us to recognize its sovereign rights or sovereignty over
Certainly
the
not.
areas.
Joint exploration is exactly what it is. It's a practical solution for the Filipinos to utilize natural resources without having to deal with the contentious conflicting claims to territories.
Thank you.
Alvin Baltasar.
Good morning, Secretary.
Good morning, Alvin.
Secretary, yung decision ni CJ Sereno to go on indefinite leave, anong take ng Palace dito? Palagay niyo ba, sir, right move yung ginawa ni CJ Sereno?
Ayaw na po namin magkomento dyan. Minsan na nagbigay kami ng mungkahi, hindi naman napakinggan ni CJ, no? So ang sa amin lang, yung huling statement namin dyan, sana talagang magmuni-muni si Chief Justice kung ano talagang dapat gawin dahil hindi lang naman ito personal na kaso lang ng Chief Justice, nakasalalay di po dito yung integridad ng Korte Suprema at ng Hudikatura bilang isang institusyon. Ang masasabi ko lang po, wag naman pong ituro ang palasyo sa impeachment na yan, no? Gaya ng kanyang nasabi ng mga nakalipas na araw, malinaw na po na ang nagbibigay ng testimonya laban sa kanya, sarili niyang kasama sa kataas-taasang hukuman.
Sir, clarification lang, kung sakasakali lang, sir, na mag-resign o di kaya mag-avail siya ng early retirement, which is better, sir?
Hindi ko po alam, bahala po siya. Ang punto kasi, hindi ko po alam if he's entitled to retire because she's fairly young, no? I know that hindi ko lang po alam talaga kung anong sistema nila and bahala na po siya mag-decide sa issue na yan. Ang panawagan lang natin, sana po bigyan ng pansin yung institusyon ng Hudikatura.
Rose Novenario.
Sir, reaction lang po dun sa pagsuko nung recruiter po ni Dima Feliz.
Mabuti sumuko siya dahil talagang paaresto siya kung di siya sumuko. Yan yung order ni Presidente. Right after the President's declaration, I declared in the press briefing that the President asked the NBI to summon the recruiter, no? And it was because probably, we just wanted to find out what exactly her side is, no? But we're happy that she surrendered and spared the NBI from conducting a manhunt for her. There will be many questions that she has to answer. Sino ba talaga yung dapat employer niyan? Bakit parang nagkapalitan ng employer na hindi naman na-report sa POEA? Alam mo, ang struktura kasi ngayon ng POEA, bago ka umalis, dapat may aprobadong kontrata na napirmahan at hindi dapat nababago yung mga partido sa kontrata at nakapagtataka na parang dito sa kaso na ni Ms. Demafiles, parang nabago yung employer. No? So, dapat natin malaman at magkaroon ng kasagutan itong mga ganitong bagay-bagay.
Okay, Raymond, follow up sa Demafiles. Other issue, Raymond Tinasa.
Ay sir, doon lang sa NFA saka sa rice supply. Sir, may mga panukala, yung mga magsasaka, yung grupo ng mga farmers, na ipinagmamalaki daw natin yung 2 billion na additional na buwis mula sa train at saka yung 7 billion na standby para sa pag-angkat. Bakit hindi raw natin ibili na lang sa mga commercial rice at i-subsidize at ibenta sa mga mahihirap ng presyo ng 27 or 32? Kasi kung talaga naman daw na yung pondo ng gobyerno ay gusto tulungan yung mga hirap at hindi na mag-angkat, kumita pa yung farmer, kumita at nakabili pa ng murang bigas yung mga mahihirap.
Well, offhand, ang masasabi ko po dyan is it's a decision of the council. May council po kasi yan eh. Yung NFA administrator is the chief executive, pero may council po yan na ang mga nakaupo, hindi lang po si Cabinet Secretary Ibasco, kundi yung mga iba't ibang departamento, no? At sila po yung nagdedesisyon yung mga bagay na relating to policies, including yung sinasanggunin ninyo na magkaroon na lang ng price support. Ang masasabi ko lang po, pag-aaralan yan, pero alam nyo po sa WTO, meron din tayong obligasyon na hindi nagbibigay ng price support sa mga magsasaka, pero hindi ko naman po sinabing hindi natin gagawin yon, no? So pag-aaralan po yan, pero sa ngayon po, ang masasabi ko lang ay yung posisyon talaga ng council na wala pong shortage at hindi po kinakailangan ng government-to-government importation. Inuulit ko po, yung 250,000 will be in due course. It will be at the hands of the private sector, no?
Doon sa pagdinig ng House recently, may nakapansin na will you support yung move na parang i-restructure yung membership ng yung NFA Council dahil ang medyo hindi raw maganda yung representation dahil iisa yung umuupong kinatawan ng farmers group tapos puro daw yung mga nandun yung sinasabi na puro nasa financial, nasa bangko at hindi raw daw naintindihan yung tunay na kalagayan ng mga magsaka.
Ang mayorya po na nakaupo sa council ay ahensya ng gobyerno. At lahat naman po yan kumuha ng o nanumpa na itaguyod ang kabutihan para sa ating sambayanan. No? Pero it's a point well taken. Kung magdidesisyon po ang Kongreso, hindi po kami tututol na bigyan ng mas malakas na boses sa mga magsasaka dyan sa council na yan.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, may follow-up sa NFA. Virgil.
Hi, Sir. Virgil Lopez, GMA News Online. Sir, yesterday si Speaker Alvarez, he proposed for the OSG to file a quo warranto petition before the Supreme Court to invalidate yung appointment ni CJ Sereno, citing yung hindi siya nakapag-substantially comply dun sa SAL and requirement and she applied for the post in 2012. So this raises a legal question, sir. Can an impeachable official be removed through quo warranto proceedings?
Well, hindi naman po sa akin dinirect ni Speaker Alvarez yung kanyang request. I will leave it to the Solicitor General to provide a response to the request of the House Speaker.
May follow-up? Other issue? Bernadette?
Sir, good morning po. I would just like to know the President's reaction on the decision of the Consultative Committee to adopt a federal presidential form of government because I think House Speaker Alvarez revealed in 2016 that Duterte prefers a federal parliamentary form of government.
Well, ang masasabi ko lang po, ito isang ayon din sa sinabi ni Pangulo dun sa isang SONA na ang sinabi niya gusto niya French model. Ang ine-emphasize po niya, bagamat gusto niya ng federal form of government, gusto niya na isang presidente na halal ang taong bayan. So tingin ko po, nakakatugma yung rekomendasyon ng Consultative Committee sa kagustuhan ng presidente na magkaroon ng federal pero halal pa rin ang taong bayan ng presidente.
Okay. Chopel?
Sir, may mga labor groups from Boracay ang nananawagan na i-freeze muna yung desisyon ni Presidente na magkaroon ng closure sa mga establishments along Boracay Seashore.
Ulitin ko po, walang ganung order ng Presidente. Ang order ng Presidente, 6 na buwan para si Secretary Simatu to give his recommendations. Meanwhile, i-implement ang lahat po ng mga umiiral na environmental laws, including the setback At ang sabi nga ni Presidente, pananagutin niya yung mga opisyalis ng lokal na pamahalaan na hindi nagpapatupad ng mga regulasyon. Kasama na dyan yung setback.
So sir, walang dapat ikabahala yung mga
Wala pa
manggagawa
po.
na...
Wala pa po. Ang order po ni Presidente, pag magbigay ng rekomendasyon sa loob ng 6 na buwan, wala pa pong desisyon kung anong gagawin. No? Nandun pa lang po tayo sa punto na ang nais mangyari ni Presidente, ipatupad ang mga batas at regulasyon para protektahan ang ating kalikasan dyan, kasama na dyan yung setback.
Last question na tayo. Joseph Morong. Okay, Joseph.
So sa DNR muna, I think on the ground they're looking at recommending to the president parang 60 days closure. And they said if you're going to Boracay this summer, maybe you might have to change your plans. Pero question is, has it reached the president, that recommendation?
Imposible kasi the 6-month period given by the President begins in February when we had our last cabinet meeting. 6 months is July. That's no longer summer.
Yeah, but
That's theoretically lean season for Boracay because it's rainy season.
yeah, but there is already a determination from the DNR who are on the ground, sila Senator Secretary Simatu, na mukhang ganon yung i-recommend nila kay Presidente.
Hindi pa po,
Hindi pa
wala pang
dumadating.
ganyang official communication na binibigay si Secretary Simatu. We will have our next cabinet meeting on the 5th of March. I'm sure there will be updates on this. But that would only be the first month, no, of the 6 months given to Secretary Simatu to provide his recommendations. Now, I add that I also read in the papers today that the location of in Thailand of the movie The Island was also declared closed to tourism, no, to tourists for 2 months, also to give the island chance to recover, no. So apparently this is really practiced, no, in island destinations in different parts of the world, not just in the Philippines. But as I said, wala pa pong formal na rekomendasyon na naisinasubmit si Secretary Simatu at matagal pa po yung panahon na nabigay sa kanya para magbigay ng rekomendasyon.
And if they do give the recommendation by the cabinet meeting date, you think that's too soon?
Hindi ko po alam kasi I don't know if he will actually recommend. Marami na pong nabubuong agenda dyan which I'm not at liberty to state, but I can confirm that definitely the President would want an update on what Secretary Simatu has found out, no, at least in the past month. Okay.
Follow up. Ina Andolong.
Sir, a clarification. Doon po sa last briefing, you mentioned 60 days yung binigay kay Secretary Simatu, not 6
No,
months.
6 months yun sa cabinet meeting. Oo, yung
Yung
6 months
recommendation.
talaga yun, yung to come up with recommendations.
It's 6 months.
It's 6
Okay.
months. 6 months. 6 months po.
Okay. Anyway, sir, just this is in relation to Lila's earlier question. So what did the President mean when he used the word co-ownership in his speech yesterday
Well,
regarding joint exploration?
they will jointly develop and explore for resources, no? So, ganun po yun, no? So, it's a joint undertaking which is probably akin, but we're not talking of title here because as I said in the first place, it's really exclusive economic zone. So, we're talking of sovereign rights.
Sir, in a joint exploration, can you give us an idea on what China could get out of it? I mean, what limitations would be set by the Philippine government in such an agreement?
I do not know. That's really speculative, Pano, because they're still discussing. It's not a done deal. On our part, there are political considerations. On the part of China, there's also consideration that they're not used to entering into joint agreements. No? So let's not speculate what will happen. I think there's a decision that it will be to the best of our national interest to benefit from the resources in the disputed area, but there's no meeting of the minds as of yet.
Thank you.
Okay, Ace Romero.
Sec matter of semantics lang. So why did the President use the term ownership? If kanina in-explain nyo, hindi naman pala kailangang i-recognize yung sovereignty. Why use the word ownership?
Kasi parang he's trying to explain what will happen na you will jointly undertake an exploration and exploitation activity. So yun yun.
So the co-ownership term is not necessarily mean
It's
ownership.
Well, I don't want to say that the President, well, as far as I know, what he meant was that's exactly the kind of relationship that we will have in a joint exploration and exploitation. No? But it can't be co-ownership in the sense that ownership is not material to the exclusive economic zone. It's only sovereign rights po. Wala pong ownership kapag sovereign rights. It's the exclusive right to explore and exploit natural resources, the right to conduct scientific research, and the right to build artificial islands.
So is the president parang just simplifying, parang ganun ba?
I believe so.
Okay.
Darrell, follow-up sa China.
Good morning, sir. Sir, former Solicitor General Florin Hilbay described the President's statement as an example of culpable violation of the Constitution and betrayal of public trust. Do you agree with this, sir?
No, but he's free to file an impeachment complaint if he wants.
Follow-up?
How can it be betrayal of public trust when the Supreme Court itself has said it can be done? I believe that former Solicitor Hilbay may be in the same opinion as Justice Carpio, but they're in the minority. The jurisprudence, again, is labugal. Joint exploration, exploitation is allowed.
Okay. Ace Romero?
Secretary, Umidyar Network just donated its PDRs to Rappler, and according to Umidyar, the donation completely eliminates the sole basis of the SEC ruling against Rappler and strongly believes that the news website should continue operating unhindered in the Philippines. Will this change the palace stance on the ban on Rappler?
We did not ban Rappler. It was the SEC that came up with the decision that they're foreign-owned. And therefore, on that basis, they declared the corporate existence of Rappler Inc. as being null and void. No? Now, what is our view of this act of Omidyar? I think they acknowledge that their PDR contravenes the Constitution and our existing laws. It's an admission against interest that they violated our Constitution because they said now it removes the only obstacle from that keeps Rappler from operating. No? That's an admission.
Okay, now that
and we're happy that they admitted because now we can say even Rappler now admits that they're not victims of censorship. They're not victims of infringement of press freedom, no less than their founder violated that they now admitted that they're in violation of the Philippine Constitution, took steps hoping that this will rectify it. What's our position? I doubt if that will cure it because it has already been declared as void. So if they want to assist Rappler, they must form a new corporation anew.
So you believe the SEC decision will not be changed because of this act?
Number one, the SEC can't do anything about it because they've already decided on it. It's now in the CA. If at all, it is the CA that could consider it. No? But as far as I know, no change in circumstance could affect an issue already brought to court, no? Unless it will render it moot. But the issue here is, was there a violation of the Constitution because of the PDR issued by Rappler?
Okay, in relation to that, meaning hindi pa rin makakapag-cover dito sa Malacanang yung Rappler?
Of course.
Okay. Thank you, Secretary.
Joseph Morong?
So yung act po ng Umidyar, what position does it strengthen? The decision of the SEC or Rapplers before the CA?
Nako, it strengthens the decision of the SEC because it's an acknowledgement that they violated the Philippine Constitution no less. And they're hoping to rectify it.
And the curing cannot happen while it is in the CA?
Well, the curing will depend if the CA allows it, no? But as far as the SEC is concerned, the matter is out of the hands of the SEC already. Right, because they have already decided.
Questions?
CJ
Other issue?
CJ.
Okay.
Sir, yung kay question lang ni
Many of you now want to have been managers of Rappler.
Ano
$1.5 million divided by 12. Don't you wish you were there instead, Joseph?
I wish for a peaceful life, sir. Sir, so CJ lang. Okay, so ang process of, yung question on ni Veril, I want to push it lang. Under the Constitution, you can only remove a Chief Justice via an impeachment. Okay? But yung sinasabi ni Speaker Alvarez is that the validity of the appointment can now be questioned and can now be put as a question before the Supreme Court based on yung mga questions about qualifications, about psychiatric health and all that shit, all of that, and the it is a novel idea, sir, right? But can it be done?
It's novel, but I don't see how the executive can be involved in this other than if the quo warranto succeeds and the court orders that she should be removed, I can assure you the executive will implement it because we're the chief implementer of the law. But we will defer to the decision of Congress. We will defer to the decision of the Supreme Court itself if and when this issue is brought to its attention.
Okay, follow up.
Sa China ulit. So, any potential energy deals between Manila and Beijing, would it be government to government or company? If ever,
The Constitution and Labugal says that it must be pursuant to a contract, written contract entered into by the President and submitted to Congress.
Okay, last question. No more? Okay. Joseph.
Sir, di ba may naudlot, Arroyo administration, yung kila MVP, yung service SC something number with regard to joint explorations? Will that be resuscitated?
I do not know because I have not gotten official communication from the Department of Energy.
Right, so it's just a soundbite, no?
Well, you know, okay, the soundbite is, kinakailangan po munang magkaroon ng kasunduan ang bansang China at ang Pilipinas para magkaroon ng joint exploration and exploitation dyan sa pinag-aagawang West Philippine Sea. Pero hanggang wala pong kasunduan na ganyan, hindi po posible, no? Dahil sa realidad na parehong partido hindi naman pumapayag, no? So, antayin muna po natin kung magkakaroon ng ganyang kasunduan at pag nagkaroon ng kasunduan naman po yan, ipagbibigay alam din natin sa buong bayan dahil yung kasunduan na yan dapat isumite sa Kongreso sang-ayon na rin sa ating saligang batas.
If I'm going to use a metaphor ng bahay, who's going to get permission to enter into whose house?
It's not a house. It's governed by rights pertaining to the exclusive economic zone. So, it's sovereign rights.
Okay.
So, I don't think comparing it to a house is the proper way to do it. No?
Okay. So both have sovereign rights over the Benham rights?
It's disputed. That's the problem. No?
Okay. So yun.
It's disputed. There is a dispute right now.
Okay. So as far as exercising Benham rights, sir,
Not Benham rice, no. I thought you were talking about I thought you were talking about West Philippine Sea because that's the question.
No, sa Benham rice.
Wala naman kasing joint exploration sa Philippine Sea kasi exclusive yan. Ang sabi ng Presidente, we don't have to share it with anyone.
Okay. So
because
West
it's exclusive in
Philippine
rice.
Alright, gotcha.
Okay?
Gotcha.
Tatlo po yan. Philippine rice, Scarborough Shoal, Spratlys.
Last question, Raymond Tenasa.
But those are
Philippine rice, not Benham rice.
No more rice. Sir,
no more rice. Meron, marami.
Sir,
maraming rice.
Doon nga sa exploration kasi I remember doon sa Gloria Arroyo administration, nagkaroon na rin ng parang initial na exploration noon. So this time, sir, may mababago ba na yung magiging point of reference or terms of reference ay yung mismong batas ng Pilipinas and not of China?
Alam niyo po yung JMSU hanggang ngayon nasa Korte Suprema Wala pang desisyon ng Korte Suprema dun sa constitutionality ng JMSU, yung Joint Maritime Seismic Agreement, no? Bakit nga ba JMSU yun? Ano kaya yung understanding, no? So, pero sa akin po, ibang-iba ito kasi yun, seismic exploration lang yun. Ito, we're talking of actual exploitation. Okay?
And we expect China to give us fair share?
I think so. And as to the applicable law, because this will be pursuant to an agreement between two nations, it will be governed by international law. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Wait, hindi pa tapos because we welcome guests today to answer your questions on train. He is led by, we have resource persons for today, Department of Finance Chief Economist and Undersecretary for Strategy, Economics and Results Group, Undersecretary Carl Kendrick Chua, and the agency spokesperson, Assistant Secretary Paula Alvarez. No? They will share with us updates on the implementation of the recently enacted tax reform for acceleration and inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen of the Malacanang Press Corps, let us all give a warm welcome to Yusek Carl Kendrick Chua and ASEC Paula Alvarez. Okay?
Okay.
Nasaan na sila? Please join us. I turn over the floor to them because they are the authorities on the field. And I will ask to be excused because I have a pressing engagement. So I turn over the floor to the very able Undersecretary Chua and Assistant Secretary Alvarez.
Okay, thank you, Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque. Yusek Chua, please.
Actually, I'm not chief economist. I'm just undersecretary spokesperson. The chief economist is Yusek Hill Beltran, so I can focus on tax reform. Siguro, before I start, I just want to thank everyone for this opportunity again to explain TRIN. It's not an easy reform, and one of the key questions is whether TRIN or the tax reform is responsible for the slight increase in inflation. So I would just like to give a short presentation, and ASEC Paula and I would be happy to answer questions. Just to give everyone an idea, the inflation is really based on a consumer price basket. This is the composition of that basket. 39% of that is food, and 59% is non-food. And under food, you would have food, and under food, you would have rice, which is the biggest item in the basket, followed by the non-alcoholic beverages and the alcohol and tobacco. In the non-food, you have the usual clothing, housing, electricity, transport, and so on. So there are many items in the consumption basket. And this is arrived based on a survey of what typical Filipinos buy. And those highlighted in yellow are those that would typically be affected by the tax reform, which I will explain later has not yet translated into the inflation effect. The key messages as we see in January is that the year-on-year inflation was 3.95%. That is the almost 4% that is being reported. Year-on-year inflation meaning the change in price between January of 2017 and January of 2018. And the main findings is that it is within the 2 to 4% target of the central bank. And this is considered moderate. Although it is at the higher end, it is still within target. And 1 month of slightly higher inflation is not a cause for concern because the target is set for the entire year. And what makes the January a little higher is that the base effect is present, meaning sa January 2017, the inflation was quite low at 2.7. That is why there is room to grow the price. In NCR, 5.45 yung inflation. But outside NCR, it's really lower, 3.53. Because the poor and the low income are mostly outside NCR, we don't think that this inflation is a major concern for our low income countrymen. Some of you may ask if the 4% or 3.95 is high. It is actually very low and stable. Historically, we have gone through 10%, 20%, and even 50% inflation. So this chart basically says that over time, we have been doing quite well in making our inflation low and stable. So at 3.2 last year and 3.95 this year, we expect that to remain within the central bank's target. And so this is not a cause for concern. Now, some of you may ask, and to educate the public, kailan ba kinukuha ng survey ng Philippine Statistics Authority? They do it twice a month, during the first 5 days of the month and during the middle of the month. And given this, train is unlikely to be the reason for the higher inflation that we have seen. Why? Because most of these firms selling alcohol, tobacco, sugar-sweetened beverage, oil are still selling old stock, which they bought in 2017 and should not be levied the higher excise. So if there is any higher inflation that we have seen, it's probably due to other reasons. In fact, what we see is that in petroleum, although the inflation of petroleum products is 7.2%, none of that was caused by trade because the peso's depreciation is 1.5%, and the Dubai crude increased by 19.6%. In fact, if we look at month-on-month inflation, meaning the change in price from December to January, we actually saw it to be slightly negative at 0.8. So there's no way for TRIN to have caused the higher petroleum products. In fact, it is due to the peso's depreciation and the higher Dubai crude. Sugar-sweetened beverage, mababa rin yung inflation, 2.8%. Alcohol, we expect it to rise 4% kasi yung sin tax every year may 4% adjustment, pero mababa rin siya. So yung main message is, if these products that are affected by TRIN hardly increase, and the only reason why petroleum increase is a Dubai crude, and all other products increase, there must be something else that's driving the increase, and not TRIN. That is the key message. Now, in terms of food, what we have seen is that overall food inflation is higher at 4.52%. However, rice is still low as of January at 1.4%. In fact, the only product in the food basket that is higher than 10%, which is a cause for concern, is fish. However, that reflects the typhoon that went through the middle of the country in December, and also yung close fishing season. Typically, November to February, hindi pwede mag-fish ng big fish variety. Now, actually, what we think is the real driver of higher inflation, aside from possible profiteering, is that the tobacco industry is now paying the right taxes. Tobacco inflation actually in January was 17.4%, when we expect it only to increase by 8%. And this is likely to be due to one company which is now paying the right taxes after being caught smuggling and producing illicit cigarette. In fact, that company, under the new management, is now paying almost 2 billion more per month. In fact, if we had the situation wherein that company would still be producing illicit cigarette, therefore not paying tax, and we would see our inflation to be 3.75, which is more or less the norm that we expect. But since someone is now complying and paying the right tax, we see higher prices and thus contributed to inflation. Our estimate, as many of you have seen in previous presentation, is that we expect the train to contribute a maximum of only 0.7% to our inflation. So if the target inflation on average is 3% this year, it would be 3.7 maximum. And the 0.7 is due to train. And NEDA and the BSP both have confirmed our analysis. Finally, many of you know that we came from a period of very high oil price, and then oil price went down and started to go up in the last 3 years. What really happened was when diesel increased from 18 pesos to 32 pesos between January of 2016 and January of 2017, that 14 peso is at 76% increase in the diesel price. We did not see any of the key commodity items skyrocket. Inflation overall in 2016 was 2.7%. Food inflation 3.4%. Transport 2.4%. Housing, electricity, gas, water 1.8%. In fact, based on the survey that DTI does every month on the price, they did not see any significant increase, if any, among the key products. Laundry bars, sardines, pork, rice, yellow corn, fish, noodles, lahat po sila hindi po nagbago. Habang yung diesel, umakyat na po ng 14 pesos. So, in summary, I would like to assure the public that this train has been well studied, well consulted, and the inflation very well manageable. We have also other ways to help the poor in case inflation goes up higher. We have the conditional cash transfer. We have the rice subsidy. We have under the train the unconditional cash transfer. And we are pursuing rice tarification so that rice price will fall by NEDA's estimate by up to 7 pesos per kilogram. So with that, Asek Paul and I would be happy to address questions regarding train and its inflation effect, if any. Thank you.
Okay, MPC, you have questions? Ina Andolong? Joseph, you have question? Microphone, please.
You listen. So sir, yung contribution ng for 2018, no, 0.7 lang yung attributable to train, right?
Train,
The
yes.
inflation. Yung January na rate, do you expect that to taper off? Kasi I think I heard si Secretary Pernia or si Secretary Dominguez, sinasabi niya it will taper off as we go.
Sa tingin namin magte-taper off yan. Kasi in January, yung nag-ikot po yung DTI and DOE, marami pong nahuling mas mataas sa SRP. So pinagsabihan na sila, binabaan na nila yung presyo. And eventually people adjust. And there are many other factors. Lalo na pag pumasok na yung rice tariffication, I think we can hit our target of no more than 4% for the full year.
So you think, sir, that yung report ng PSA na mataas na January inflation, that's manufactured based on price manipulation? Yun ba yun?
Sa tingin namin, there's no reason for train to be the cause for the slightly higher inflation. And if there is, it would be other factors. And profiteering might be a reason because we have already seen some evidence of it.
Sir, tobacco lang, yung nakikita niya na nag-drive ng January inflation?
Well, yung pinakamataas, tobacco, kasi yung inflation ng tobacco is 17%. Yung expectation namin dahil sa sin tax is only 8%. That's if yung company niya nagbebenta na ng new stock. Pero what if old stock pa binibenta, so dapat walang increase. Pero since itong better governance sa tobacco industry, mas malaki na rin yung binabayad nila. Almost 2 billion per month ang additional. Kaya kung nagbabayad na po sila ng tamang tax, siyempre yung presyo po ng sigarilyo tumaas na rin. Kaya doon po natin nakita yung higher inflation ng tobacco, which contributed to the higher inflation overall.
So just tobacco, no other products? Kasi parang
wala kaming nakitang other products na of certain concern, except yung sinabi kong fish, because may bagyo at may close season. All other products are well under the double digit and closer to 5% or less.
All right, thank you.
Okay, questions? Ace?
Yusek, nasubmit na yung second package sa Congress, ano?
Nasubmit na po sa Congress, tama po.
Ano po yung nakikita yung contentious points dun sa second package? Kasi sa first package, ang daming umalma. For example, dun sa cooperatives, dun sa higher excise tax. Yung sa second package, ano yung nakikita ninyong pinaka-challenging na provisions?
Well, kung walang challenge ang isang reform, hindi siya tunay na reforma. So may challenge talaga. Pero ang nakikita namin ay balanse kasi yung aming mungkahi. Meron po tayong lowering ng corporate income tax. At ngayon po, ang mga small and medium enterprises, nagsisikap po sila, pero sila ay nagbabayad ng 30%. In ibang bansa, 20% na lang. Kaya kailangan natin ibaba yung corporate income tax. Pero hindi po natin pwedeng gawin yan kung hindi po natin lalawakin yung base ng tax. That is why meron po tayong fiscal incentives rationalization. Yung nakaraang administrasyon under President Arroyo, Aquino, Ramos, sinubukan po nila yung fiscal incentives pero hindi po sila nagtagumpay. Ngayon po, meron po tayong data o mga datos galing po sa TIMTA law. Yung TIMTA ay yung Tax Investment Management Transparency Act na requiring all firms receiving incentives to submit data on how much they got and what they contributed. So yan po ay makakatulong sa atin. So hindi po madali, pero sa tingin po namin mas kaya ngayon.
Kasama sa second package yung rationalization ng fiscal incentive.
Kasama po siya.
Kasama po dun yung pagtanggal ng redundant tax holidays.
Kung redundant talaga, wala pong pakinabang sa ating bansa, siguro naman dapat tanggalin kasi pahirap ito sa mga nagbabayad ng tamang buwis. Pero kung may magandang epekto po yan sa ating bansa, may magandang trabaho na nalilikha o mga exports na nakakatulong sa atin, pwede naman natin iwan yung mga incentives.
May commitment na ba yung Congress kung kailan nila ipapasa yung second package nung train?
Well, yung Kongreso kasi dadaan sa mahabang hearing eh. So siguro ang gusto po namin sana ay bago magtapos po yung taon ay maipasa na po yung second package. Pero siyempre dapat pakinggan po natin lahat ng mga sektor ng lipunan. Yes.
Okay, questions?
Paula will add.
Virgil and
Okay. Just to clarify, no, what we mean by yung sa fiscal rationalization of fiscal incentives is kung titignan nyo kasi merong malalaking industriya na nakakakuha sila ng mas malaking kita kasi yung kanilang incentives, yung kanilang holiday, talagang mahaba na binigay sa kanila. Like for example, yung iba doon, walang sunset provisions. So what we're trying to do now is, syempre, yung SMEs, yung mga small and medium, ano sila, like 30% talaga sila natatax. Pero kung ilo-lower mo sila, dapat yung mga mas malalaking companies na nag-e-enjoy ng mas matagal, dapat pag nakuha na nila yung kanilang capital, kumbaga if you're operating for 40 years, tapos hindi ka nagko-contribute sa economy kasi nga meron kang mga holiday, dapat siguro i-rationalize natin yon. So what we want is not to completely remove it, but for others to, for example, lagyan natin ng sunset provisions, lagyan naman natin na, pag ganito na yung cap mo, dapat mag-contribute ka na sa economy. So that's the idea why we want to rationalize.
Virgil?
Anyone can answer. Would you know if yung 200 pesos na train subsidy, has this been downloaded, rolled out already the poor households?
Yung 200 na subsidy, actually lump sum ibibigay yan Hindi po 200 per month. Isang bagsakan yan, 2,400. Ayon po sa DSWD schedule, yung mga 4P beneficiaries ay nagsimula ng makatanggap po ng cash transfer. Kasi top up lang ito sa kanilang regular subsidy. Yung mga non-4Ps, yung mga senior citizens, ito po ay ang focus in the next few months.
When, sir, na bigay yung
sabi po ng DSWD February. Kasi every February and every 2 months thereafter, nagdi-distribute ng 4P subsidy. So, sinasabay yan.
Okay. Last 2 questions na tayo. RJ and Badet and Joseph. RJ.
Sir, we're heading towards federalism, and can you give us a bigger picture of the fiscal policy of that form of government and how it is different from the current policy? What precautions do you consider as we adopt that?
Actually, mahirap mag-speculate kung anong form of fiscal policy. Kasi yung form of federalism, hindi rin parang confirmed or final. So once may confirmation na kung anong itsura ng federal government, ito ba'y parang US, Canada, Malaysia, doon pa natin pwedeng bigyan ng pansin kung anong tamang fiscal policy.
Okay, sir. So, sir, another question. In the first 2 months of the implementation of Train Package 1, how do you assess it in general?
Well, I think in general it was quite successful. We give 10 billion peso per month at least to working people, and that's fueling a lot of the positive consumer expectation. The revenue collection in the first 2 months are on target, and our inflation has remained manageable. And of course, we will continue to monitor and make sure that the fruits of Train are going to be well spent.
And what unexpected challenges, sir, if there's any, has the government encountered so far?
Well, wala pa naman kaming nakitang malaking challenge. Alam mo naman yung Train, 18 months tong, we prepared for 18 months. It was well consulted, everyone in government contributed. If there are challenges, then I think it would be easy to address.
Sir, any significant lesson in the implementation which can be applied in the second package implementation?
Ang maganda naman sa Train Package 1, maganda yung research. 700 consultations ang ginawa namin. So tutuloy po namin yan para marinig po ang lahat ng mga concerns po ng mga affected sector. So tuloy and we will do and build on it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, last 3. Badet, Joseph, and Ace.
Hi, sir. I have 3 questions po.
3.
Wala po bang plano yung gobyerno to increase the subsidy for the poor given the increase in rice prices po? As you said po, we only have 1.4 rice inflation, 1.4% po. Pero syempre po, we need to take into consideration yung problem po with NFA rice. So wala po bang plano yung gobyerno to increase the subsidy?
Ang plano namin, ibaba yung presyo para lahat will benefit. Kasi if you give a subsidy, that means you're taking it from the budget. Someone's not going to benefit from it. What if a school, public school, or a healthcare center needed that money more than those receiving the subsidy? So ang balak po namin, we tarify the rice, and that can raise some taxes, but also significantly reduce the rise of price. The estimate of NEDA is by as high as 7 peso per kilogram yung kayang ibaba once we do this important reform.
Okay, sir. Next question, sir. What does the government intend to do to prevent profiteering po?
Well, alam mo yung profiteering, mahirap yan. Hindi naman kaya natin bantayan lahat ng mga negosyante. Pero ang ginagawa natin since the first day of train is DTI and DOE have been going around monitoring prices, and some of them were captured well in the media. Yung mga nahuling mas mataas sa SRP, pinagsabihan at marami naman nag-rollback ng price. And besides, there are many other factors that we should consider. So we just have to be vigilant, continue our work in monitoring, and for the public to inform the government kung mayroon pong nagsasamantala ng price.
Next question po. Last February 20 po, SAPI or the Semiconductors and Electronics Industries in the Philippines Foundation Inc. and Dominguez are set to meet po. Natuloy po ba yung meeting?
Hindi pa natuloy, so na-postpone siya.
For what reason, sir?
Schedule.
Okay.
Mutual schedule.
Okay, sir. Sir, may last question pa ako.
Last. Okay.
Apo. According po sa PhilExport po, the zero value added tax exemption and VAT refunds po should not be categorized as tax incentives under the package 2 po. So what's your stand about
actually,
it po?
tama po sila. Hindi siya talaga dapat incentive. Ang VAT kasi, consumption tax. Kung may binili ka o may nag-import ka, magbayad dapat ng tax ng VAT tulad ng mga ordinaryong Pilipino. Tapos kung nag-export, dyan po kayo kukuha or mag-apply po ng refund. So tama po sila. Hindi dapat incentive ang VAT na ginagawa dati.
So in other words po, you're supporting their stand po?
Well, I'm clarifying their stand na dapat hindi natin gawing incentive ang VAT. Dapat lahat po magbayad kung may binili po sila.
Okay, thank you, Badet. Ace? Microphone.
Yusek Chua, may deficit figures na ba for February?
Meron, pero hindi ko hawak yung datos eh. Pero I can send you the may nag-press may press statement na I think a few days ago. So pero hindi ko hawak yung datos.
Lumabas na pala.
Lumabas na po.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry guys quick lang na question. Sige.
Ay, kay Yusek Chua. Sir, may binabanggit yung I think NEDA na magkaroon yung may inflationary effect kapag taasan yung pagbili ng NFA sa palay mula sa farmers. Can you give us how much or would be the projection ng inflation hike kapag taasan from 17 per kilo to say 20 or 22 per kilo yung palay?
Actually, hindi ko alam yung detalye, pero yung sinasabi mo, yung NFA bibili po ng 20 instead of 17. Siyempre may effect sa price yan. Unless na i-absorb po ng NFA yung loss. So depende yan kung anong pong gagawin ng NFA. Pero hindi ko alam yung detalye.
Okay, final last two are Virgil and Joseph.
So, sir, 2 questions lang. May inflation forecast na ba for February?
Well, ang forecast namin is within the 2 to 4%
ng DBCC. Okay.
Yes.
Tapos, yung sa Marawi bonds, sir, reconstruction bonds, meron na bang update doon?
Okay, so for the Marawi resource mobilization, right now, we already have the PCNA, but for the actual costing of how much we need to fund individually, wala pa. So, kung ready na kami, but inaantay natin yung final outcome ng study ng master plan ng NEDA, kasi sila yung gagawa ng master plan. So once they have the master plan, we would know how much we actually need at yung kung ano yung individual infrastructure, like ano-ano yung mga ospital, saan-saan yung mga eskwelahan, yung ilan yung kailangan nating pondohan. So inaantay pa natin yun.
Okay, Joseph last.
Sir, yung sa rice subsidy lang, may mention kayo parang 4 yata yung but I missed the other 2. CCT, tapos rice subsidy. Ano pa yung mga pantulong ulit?
Well, yung under-train is the unconditional cash transfer.
How is that different from the CCT?
Well, CCT is conditional. You have to attend school and go to the health center. Yung unconditional
Ito yung before.
is wala talagang condition. All the poorest 10 million families get the subsidy.
Sir, yung sa rice subsidy, paano yan i-operationalize?
Alam ko yung rice, nagsimula na yan last year. Hindi pa siya part ng train. Yan yung parang top up sa mga CCT families. Kasi yung concern po nila, yung amount ng CCT subsidy, hindi na po nagbago yan since the start of the program. So sabi po nila, tumataas yung presyo, pero yung amount ng CCT hindi nagbabago. Kaya dinagdagan po ng rice subsidy.
So even before train meron na yan?
Even before train meron na po yan.
Okay. So not additional expense?
What we're trying to add is yung unconditional.
Yes.
Kasi pag CCT, you have to be under yung specific conditions
May
and
mga
specific
requirement
qualifications.
yan.
Pero minsan, kahit mahirap ka, hindi ka nagka-qualify dun sa mahirap nila under CCT, hindi ka makakatanggap. So we want to expand it to include yung unconditional para kung hindi ka papasok dun sa conditional, meron ka pang unconditional.
Parang
So we're adding 2.8 million households more.
2.8 million households. And how much is that in pesos?
How much is the budget for that?
Well, 10 million times 2,400 is 24 billion.
24
is,
what?
billion is a subsidy for this year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay na, malaki yung press corps. Thank you, Yusek Carl Cedric Chua and Yusek Attorney Paula Alvarez. May message pa rin po kayo sa mga consumer.
Mag-iwan lang kami ng materials kung gusto nyo. Yun sa
Okay.
detalye po ng presentation. Well, yung PowerPoint and this one pareho lang.
Okay.
Yung PowerPoint pinaganda lang namin.
Okay, thank you. Thank you malaki yung press
Thank you
corps.
very much.
Thank you back to our main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and People's Television Network.